Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development Program, and in particular the AWD1111 .NET Framework with Web Databases class, I've been going over a series of articles from DotNetOdyessy that's entitled ASP.NET MVC5 Free Course. So far I've done the first 9 lessons. Simple about creating our first application, views and razors, layout, model, entity framework, CSS in Twitter Bootstrap, setting up our micro IMDb v2 application, and data modeling, which means I've got the last 3 to go. So we're up to chapter or lesson 10, where we're going to talk about CRUD operations. CRUD is an acronym that stands for Create, Read, Update, and Delete. In this chapter, we concentrate more on the create and the read. The update and delete, as you can see on the screen, in fact, where the mouse is pointing right now, or the cursor, that'll be chapter 12. Sandwiched in between chapters 10 and 12 will be chapter 11, where we'll talk about some data validation. So let's jump into part 10. And as it says in the last chapter, we tried to get a list of movies from a non-existent database. Entity Framework created the database for us and queried the movies list. As we didn't have any data, we could not display the movie list to the users. Below are the things we're going to add to the movie database. Now, before we do that, I want to do a file micro IMDb v2. Micro IMDb v2. It's got to be a little v. That should make that error go away. Good. And let's double check here too. That's a little v. Good. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a file save all. All right. Don't always have to do this, but I'm going to do a build solution where I'm going to build everything. See if that gives me any errors. It doesn't appear as though it is. And then I'm going to go and actually try to run the program. See if that gives me any errors. Now they mentioned in the last chapter that there are no titles in this yet. So there really probably at least isn't going to be anything to show. And that's fine. Let this load and make sure there are no errors, and then we're going to go on. See up here that it's still loading. We got an error. An exception occurred while initializing the database. Cannot attach that file. Oh boy, repos. I did not want there to be repos in here. Okay, let's double check something here. Doggone it. I want to just quickly do let me stop this. And I want to add a new project. I'm not really going to add it, but I want to see. That's not where I'd want to do it. I'd want to do it here. I did not think I had that stuff turned on for the repo. If I did, that's really on me, and that was very stupid to do. Let's continue on and see if we can get this to work. All right, if we can't, not sure. Okay. as mentioned, what we're going to do in here is we're going to create an add action method, create an empty view model and pass it to the view, and show the form where the user can enter movie information. So it says, let's write some code. This, of course, will go into our movies controller right here. You'll notice that this says get. Technically, you don't have to put a get in there. You have to put in when it's a post rather, but under a get, you don't have to. All right. We're going to add an add method, which is going to create a new movie listing, and it's going to return it for us. The idea is, hopefully at least, when we get going a little bit, this is going to end up allowing us to add a brand new movie. Now, I want to mention, I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, last time, promise, that later on, probably a few weeks from now, maybe a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks from now, I am going to come in, and if you look, I'm going to put in here control panel.
I can learn to understand you much better if I can get familiar with the way you talk. I need your permission to help.
All right, and under control panel, if I go to my programs and features, what you will notice in here is that I've got Visual Studio, as I move my way down, Community 2017. I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to download, all right, I'm going to download Visual Studio 2019. And while I'm doing this, I'm trying to clear up. All right, I've got so much junk in here. Notice a lot of, see, I don't even know if I need that stuff. All right, but I'm going to have to go back in. What is supposed to be happening right now, we're at the end of May 2019. Somewhere near the beginning of July, I'm supposed to be getting a new computer. And I've been trying to hold off on doing any more work, removing stuff, etc. Because once I get the new computer, I should be able to just do the installs on it, put on the stuff I want. But we'll see once we get to there. All right. So the HTTP GET right there tells the type of request, which can be a GET or a POST. And there are a few other ones, but those are the ones we're going to use virtually 100% of the time. And as mentioned in our write-up here, or in our chapter, get is used for getting a resource. So in other words, get kind of implies you're not writing anything. The data gets passed up in here, up in your address bar. There'll be like a question mark with other stuff in there. To try to show you this, hopefully this will work. And if it doesn't, well, then so be it. But I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go into Amazon, Amazon.com. All right, and I'm going to go in and I have nothing in my cart, so I'm going to grab this right here and I'm going to put it in my cart. All right, so add to cart. Now, when I go to my cart, what you will notice in here, is I've got this right here, all that in gray, that's the URL. This, the question mark and what comes after it, is what's known as the query string. When you're doing a get, the information that you have is shown in that query string. Now we could have ampersand and then add another field, ampersand, another field, etc. if we wanted to do that. One thing I want to do is I want to get this out of my cart. Why? Because I don't want to buy it. All right. You should never use get for sending sensitive information as it is shown in the query string. So, as it says there, get does not alter the state of your data. Get is passed, again, in that query string, and you should never use it for sensitive data. So if the user requests a resource via a get, the web server responds with a response. Now, I don't want to read this to you. You can take a look at it yourselves. I will leave it up here for a second. Again, does not alter. Passed in the query string. Length of the request is limited. All right? That's it in a nutshell. Then you've got post. Post generally is equated with you making changes, or at least possibly making changes to the actual data that you're talking about. All right, so as it says, the user goes and post can alter the state. The data is passed in the body of the request, so it's not seen inside of the query string. So it's better for sensitive data. As it says, it's relatively safer than a get. Those are the three things right there. As we mentioned here, coming back to our action method, we are creating an instance of the movie class and passing it to the view. When the user enters the movie information in the form, we can get the entered values through this. That's the idea. So what you see in that picture on the screen here is a simplified version. The user enters the movie information in the view. What really happens, as they mentioned there, is that the view would be sent to the controller, which in turn would send it to the user's browser. We may have talked about this before, we may not have, I really don't remember. But there is no exact direct communication that takes place between the model and the view. Rather, the controller communicates with the model, gets back what it needs from the model, then it communicates with the correct view to send that information back. All right. We're getting tight here, so rather than going on to the view part right here, I'm going to stop and hopefully finish this up in a part 2 in just a couple of moments.